Tim. And I thought it would be fun, assuming I can figure out the technology involved, to do a ranking of some of my fan fiction. Now, if you've been here a while, you know I may have mentioned that I got my start writing fan fiction. But I got my start writing fan fiction back in the days when you still submitted to a fanzine and like some kind of physical copy was printed and sold at cons and things like that. At the same time, I think fanfiction.net was at its infancy. AO3 was not a thing yet. I was a teenager, pretty young for fanfiction writing. I would mail in my stories and then get invited to cons and show up, and people were really confused because I was too young to be in the 21 and up rooms where they had originally planned to put me, so they'd have to like move me out into a hallway or whatever. It was a good time. Those were good days, but I did have some stuff on fanfiction.net. Eventually I had some stuff on AO3. I think I still have a couple of short pieces on AO3 actually. I took most of them down due to the AI scrapings and things like that, but it was good while it lasted, as the saying goes, and I just thought it would be fun to revisit some of these and then rank them. So first, I'm actually going to introduce the 10 pieces I've decided to rank, and then we'll go from there. You can skip ahead to just the rankings if you're like, I don't care. Most of these you probably have never heard of because they were published in fanzines, and like I said, they might have been online for a little while, but I published in zines under my actual name, well, my initials and my actual last name, and then online I was Z Mythos because that became my nickname in college. I'm going to start with something that is very rare, so you almost certainly have never heard of it. The Bay Chronicles. Yeah, I have a really nice faux leather copy because I worked at a printing and binding shop. There's probably about 10 copies of this in the world. It was never posted online. I shouldn't say that. I think I posted a few on one of my websites. This is a collection of stories. I think I posted a few of them on one of my websites, but then deleted it. Because honestly, and man, I never met a font I didn't like either. Well, there's just this is a tough one to explain. It is in parts, and each part has multiple stories in it, and it starts out as an X-Files and Vampire Lestat kind of thing, and then it goes into a Highlander Pretender kind of thing, and then it goes on into... There's some stories that focus just on Mythos and his past from Highlander, and then we ended up somewhere in the realm of the Endless from Sandman comics. It was truly bizarre. The second fanfic I'll introduce is the first one that ever got zine published. It was published in this Texas Revelations 2. It's Unfinished Business, which is a MacGyver, semi-humorous MacGyver Murdoch thing. I went on to have a number of things published in a special edition of my fan fiction called Texas Extra. There were 3 stories in this. Identity Crisis, which is another Mythos story with a hint of the Vampire Chronicles, because referenced the Talamasca from the Vampire Chronicles. The Watchers in Highlander, as I understand it, as it was described a while back, kind of sprouted from somebody on set's interest in the Anne Rice books, and they were like, oh, the Talamasca is a good idea. We should have something like that following and watching the Immortals. And, it was a natural fit. Signals, which was a MacGyver X-Files crossover about something weird going on with a satellite dish up in a national park. And then The Bane. The Bane, I actually wrote with my friend Tara, and it started out as us swapping letters because I had moved away and we were writing a story kind of via correspondence, and it was an X-Files story. And eventually I kind of pulled it all together, cleaned it up, and it got published here, unfortunately without crediting Tara, which it should have. And then I used the story of the Bane to do my undergraduate thesis as an X-Files spec script. And at some point, it even had its own website, like it had its own fan site, because I don't know, somebody had somehow gotten a copy of the script somewhere or something, and it was really wild to me that it had its own like fan wiki page. That was wild to me, but yeah, so I had a little bit of popularity going on, at least at one time in my life. I used to be cool, guys. I used to be cool. So the only other piece I ever had physically published in a fanzine was in this fanzine, and it was Out of Bounds. And this is a Duncan mythos, Kronos kind of story, based on the fact that like Duncan killed Kronos and kind of absorbed Kronos, so now Duncan and Mythos' relationship gets awkward because of Mythos' and Kronos' relationship, and Kronos trying to kind of resurface. It was something. I actually have like a history of writing this kind of thing, because Setting Love Free, which I have a printout of, but it existed only online at Fanfiction, and then, no, was it Fanfiction? No, it was on like a site that was devoted to Highlander fiction specifically. Seventh something, I don't know. Setting Love Free is also a Duncan mythos thing, but it's written more like an actual episode. I mean, it's not written in script form, but it's written more like an episode, like scenically, you can see the cuts, you could figure out where the commercial breaks would be. It is very much like written to be an episode of Highlander, more or less, but in prose form. And the Acantharodon, which again I have a printout of, just 10-chapter really mishmash crossover of a lot of my favorite anime from the 90s, because that's when I wrote and posted it. Has Utena and Fushigi Yugi, and it has some Sandman in it again. X, because Kamui's there. So Clamps X 1999, I think, as it was called in the States. It won an award from like online fans back in the day, the Acantharodon. It was very complicated, but the time I was writing the Bay Chronicles and the Acantharodon, both of those were just really convoluted. I don't know how easy they would be for anyone to read now, unless you just are super familiar with all of the different things that are in it. Otherwise, I think it would just be baffling. I guess the last one no, there are two more. We'll talk about The King's Consort, which is an unfinished fic that was on AO3 that was a Simon Snow, though it focused more on Baz, because it was about Baz getting kidnapped by the Las Vegas vampires. Remember Lamb, if you read those books, and him like being kind of inducted into ritzy world of American vampires and living large, and then of course Penny and Simon trying to save him. It was, I think, good. I ran out of steam writing it. I started it after the second book, and then the third book came out, and I disliked the third book so much I kind of just, I don't know, all of the passion went out of me for it. I am going to count it, though, because that was a big chunk of writing. And then finally, we will talk about A Game of Hearts, which is probably the thing I'm most... It's a chonker. It's about 2 novels worth of word count, if I broke it, but it's 7 stories based on BBC's Sherlock, written after the first season but before the second, where we were all just waiting for more Sherlock content at that time. And I just took it in, a direction. If you've read it, I've had some really lovely feedback about it. People who said that for them, those stories were the real series. This is how it went in their minds. And it was on Fanfiction first, and then I took it down, and then I eventually put it up on AO3, and then I took it down again. So I think some people probably still have it saved somewhere, because I know people would ask me permission sometimes to gift it and things like that. But yeah, so those are the 10 that I'm going to rank. And although now that I've introduced them, you can probably get a sense of already how I feel about some of them. Hold on. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this. So the categories are things we're going to pretend never happened, things that I'm neutral on. Probably it was fine for the time. I don't have any feelings one way or another about it now. It's not, maybe I'm over that fandom or, whatever. Things that I liked the idea of, but I feel like the execution could have been better. It would need a good rewrite. And things I'm actually really proud of. So things that, I'm happy with and, wouldn't feel the need to touch. We're going to start with the Bay Chronicles, which is that one that is an absolute it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Why are these two connected? Okay, I don't know why those two got connected. And I don't know how to undo them. Oh, there we go. Okay, so Bay Chronicles is a no. The Acantharodon, which is the anime one where, I still actually go back and reread that occasionally. Oh my god, why are you like this? Why? No. Ungroup. Can I just move you? Thank you. So, I'm neutral on it. I like it. I don't think it, like I said, it similar to the Bay Chronicles, I think you would need to know all of the various, players and things that were going on in that to make any sense. Sherlock, A Game of Hearts, I'm very proud of, actually, still. I still think that's some of my best work. I was asked if I would consider trying to turn it into original fiction, for that fanfiction to publishing pipeline. But honestly, it's so set in the world of Sherlock that I don't think there's a way to unbuckle it from that. And I don't think I'd want to. This is Identity Crisis. Okay, so this is the Highlander Talamasca one, and I think I'm just kind of neutral on that. I think it's a good piece. It's about Mythos, an old portrait of him that's in the Talamasca mother house, and he doesn't want to be discovered, so and there's like I said, David Talbot kind of tie in there, but it's all kind of tangential. Out of Bounds, I don't know. I don't know. You know what the thing is? People really liked this story, and I go back and look at it, and I don't really like it. So for me, it's kind of I'm going to pretend I never wrote that. But there are people who do actually still really like that. The King's Consort. I mean, I would honestly put it up here because I do think it's a really good piece of writing. But because it's not finished, I don't think I can actually kind of put it in the I'm proud of category. So it necessarily needs not rewriting, but to be finished. I don't know if I'll ever actually do that. But if you want me to finish that, let me know. Signals, which is the MacGyver X-Files crossover. I think that one was just a pretty standard piece of fanfic. It's nothing special, but it's solid, so it goes there. Setting Love Free, which is my favorite of the Highlander fics that I ever wrote, and I still go back and reread that. Is it weird to go back and reread your own writing? I don't know, but I do occasionally. And I'm like, oh, I liked that line that I wrote. I want to read that again. And, I might not read the whole thing, but I'll go read some little snippet. So yeah, I'm actually really proud of that one. X-Files The Bane. Okay, so this one was a really good, it would have landed really well. Early X-Files, second, third season, somewhere in there. I went and looked at it again not too long ago, and it's it's rough style-wise. I think the script version is very good, but I don't think it would be, I don't know. I think I would want to fix that up if I were so inclined. It's been so long since I've been in the X-Files fandom. But yeah, and then unfinished business. Oh, so this was the MacGyver Murdoch one. Yeah, that one's kind of cringe. It was great for a first outing, I think. That's how I feel about my fanfiction pieces. I've got a couple I'm really proud of, a couple that I think could be good, a few that I'm just kind of like, whatever, and then those 3 that I'm just like, let's pretend I never wrote that those just don't even exist. So, yeah, if you've ever read any of these, let me know. If you have favorite fanfics in any of these fandoms, let me know that too. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. See you next time.